Hey, welcome to the Votary Podcast. We're a team of filmmakers based in New England who are passionate about storytelling. We talk about the impact that stories have in every part of our lives, from business to culture and everything in between. Thanks for joining us.
We were just listening back to the first episode, and it's like way obnoxious.
It's like, and we've kept that tradition.
We're total children with our headphones on and the microphones. We're just like, listen to all the sounds.
I know. You could hear it louder.
When I do this, you can hear it. I can also hear it. We all hear that. That's fun.
Now it's like we're totally over that. 25 episodes later, we give each other turns to speak.
Yeah, we never
don't talk over each other at all.
Ever.
No, we're just
hilarious.
professionals all the time. Professional.
We literally never talk over each other.
We always clue the audience into the context of everything we're saying. We never play with the mics.
We never
give
reference
each other turns.
inside jokes or anything that they would never
We never
understand.
smack the table like this.
We don't jitter our mics around while we talk.
Everyone's out. All
When
right.
you drink beer. All right, now that it's just us.
Jono, what's your first memory?
As a human or...
Yeah, I think I was 2. I remember hitting.
You remember being 2?
Well, I remember hitting some golf balls in a parking lot.
All right. And you were 2 years old doing that?
Yeah, it was like a toy, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Not like a 9-iron or
It
anything.
wasn't that obvious.
Obviously.
Whoops. I guess my storytelling techniques are not that sharp. Back when I was 2, I have a faint memory of using toys, and I think that's my earliest memory, but then it skips all the way to like watching Godzilla when I was like 6. I don't know what happened in between.
Those are some dark years.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's anything to this, but I sometimes think that somebody's earliest memory is like very formative of their personality and like who they are.
It's hard because I don't know.
Because he became a professional golfer.
Yeah.
I still have that in me.
But this theory doesn't work with Jono. He's like, I'm just playing.
I just like to disprove
It kind of
all
does,
theories.
though. Just Jono is having a good time. He's just playing.
But it's hard to know what is memory and what I've been told and what I've seen through home video.
Yeah, you're like,
oh, I remember that dog I had. Wait, do I remember that, or do I remember seeing that as like a teenager?
Yeah, I have that with photos, like stills. Like, I remember this vividly. No, it's just a picture. I remember looking at the picture when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems like it's been proven is not a thing. You ever see like where they film like a supposed crime. Like I've seen shows where they kind of fake a crime, they film it, and then they sort of study the people's reactions to it, like witnesses, and almost all of them are wrong, and then they sort of insert fake things in there that didn't happen, and you're like, yeah, it was a purple vest, right? Purple vest.
Yeah, the influence.
Yeah.
They can influence the
And
whole
they were like,
thing.
yeah, definitely. And it's like, yeah, you had a machete, right? You know what? Yeah, I think he did. You know, like stuff like that, like just weird. So
Well,
I wonder
mean-
how much of people telling us like memories when we were a kid that where you kind of envision, especially if you have like a vivid imagination, you're envisioning what they're telling you. And then later on, you're like, yeah, that's a definite memory.
Well, I don't know if you've ever had your parent say something that you were just there for, and they either embellish it or tell it wrong to the group of people, and
Yeah.
you're like, have I been lied to my whole life? Because you're telling them something completely
Yeah,
inaccurate.
because that happened.
That was
an hour ago.
every parent story ever.
No, there's like,
And the
like-
kids, like, they hate it. And I hate it when my kids do it. But every kid is like, no, here's how it actually went.
Yes.
Like, you like keep your parents honest, and you start telling it like right in front of the company, and they're just like, shut up, just get out of here. Just, you missed the whole point. It was a fun story.
Daddy's lying for a reason. Now go away.
Yeah, and now that's me.
well, it was like the whole, what you were just saying was kind of like the whole Mandela effect. Basis of that is everyone remembers things incorrectly, especially when you suggest it. You know,
Well, isn't the
suggested.
Mandela effect like that whole weird phenomenon where people remember things that like never existed? Like the
wish I could
the Berenstain Bears thing or the Berenstain Bears. Like,
But the
like
theory is that
that what it is?
you've been influenced to remember it wrongly, and we're all under those same influences, so we can compare our wrong memory, and it seems to be
and it's so
accurate.
insignificant too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of them, it started, obviously, the name of it comes from people thinking Nelson Mandela died in jail. that's kind of significant. But most of the stuff is
Right.
like small things, like the Febreze logo.
What's the one with the Febreze logo?
I think there's only one E. It's EZE. It's not EEZE.
This is how good life is.
And everyone thinks
This is how good life is that people are like
No,
angry
there's
arguing
actual
about this on the internet. Like,
know
no,
if you've ever-
there's 2 E's.
How To with John Wilson.
conflict.
I don't know if you've seen How To with John Wilson, but he goes to the Mandela Effect convention. And there's a whole group of people there who believe there's like alternate timelines.
Yeah.
And he actually goes there, checks it out. He hears their side of the story. And then
They're like, there's no way Berenstein Bears didn't exist.
Yes.
It must be that there's an alternate dimension.
I know.
Where Berenstein Bears branched off and Berenstain Bears.
So
I was one of those people. I was like, no, it's definitely Berenstein.
Oh,
like
for sure, I was too.
E-I-N, but it's A-I-N.
The trippy part about that one
Stain.
was that there are a few photos on the internet of old VHS tapes where the
Photoshop?
printer, the printer printed it wrong, or the graphic designer.
Maybe that's where
printed
the
it wrong.
confusion came from.
Well, I don't know. But someone finally produced it, and they're like, "Yeah, that's true. That actually was a production run."
because then he prints out stickers of the incorrect ones, goes to the grocery store and puts that on all the product in the whole store. So if it was the Febreze, he'd cover every logo with a new sticker so that people would think it was actually
2 E's.
incorrect. Yep.
Oh, so he was trying to create the Mandela effect.
Well, he heard what they had to say, and then he went into the store and basically tried to make it reality.
I like it. I like when people go really far out of their way just to mess with people.
Yeah.
Ross Creations, love that one.
What's
Ross Creations? You haven't seen Ross Creations?
Well,
Or
maybe I
Blog
have.
Creations, whatever.
Maybe
That's
I
a
have.
good one. It's just a good YouTube prank
Mm-hmm.
channel.
They're all classic YouTube pranks, baby.
He's rolling with them though. He's like
going
big
to a
now.
garage sale saying, I might need that every time someone tries to buy his stuff. I just had a yard sale with my mom, and I was like, this would be so funny if every single person who came up, actually, I might need that.
The other thing,
I might need that. He doesn't sell a single thing the whole time.
he started bringing his own items to other people's yard sales
Yeah.
and then trying to buy them.
It was like a can of beans. He's like, how much for the beans?
and they're like, make a few people who were onto it. They're like, that's not mine.
Yeah. They were like, come inside if you're hungry. They're like, yeah, we'll feed you.
Pretty good show.
Well, the natural reason you brought up memories, right? It's an obvious segue as to what we're talking about.
The more obvious segue is,
The beans.
4-year prank I pulled on Votary. I love a good prank.
Yeah.
When I go out of my way to make something.
Yeah, Jono
hilarious.
I'm going to
Recently-
integrate myself into their inner workings, their leadership, work my way up, get a salaried position, and then
earn lifelong
earn
friends.
trust, have a child, bring the child over.
Become a leader in the
They
company.
will truly love me. My dog will be the HR human resources person on their website.
And then what's the payoff of the prank? That he's leaving.
So I could be on this podcast,
Yeah.
the final podcast. No, I mean I'll be on future ones.
So the culmination of Jono's 4-year prank on Votary is that he's leaving the company.
Joke's on you. We saw it coming.
And this is the Goodbye Jono podcast episode.
No, it's see you later.
Oh, it's not goodbye.
It's not bye bye.
No, it's bye-bye.
Bye for now.
no.
It's baby bye-bye-bye.
It's bye bye.
It's actually more like, oops, I did it again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this isn't the first time you tried to get out.
He tried to pull this prank like a year ago, but
And
it
we
wasn't-
said no. No.
You're not allowed.
Sit down.
We're like the mafia.
For my
Keep
my
editing.
skill set on my resume says storytelling, self-sabotage, pranking.
In that order, or is the self-sabotage?
Oh, it's randomized. So
I just hit shuffle on my resume.
What are you going to miss most about Votary?
well, the good old laughs and goofs and gaffs. I mean, we basically just laugh.
Imagine
all
he
day
has
long.
like the best friends he's ever had in his whole life at the next job.
Oh,
And the
don't
laughs are
know.
just that much deeper.
And they slowly start disappearing off the earth.
And the
Seriously,
cheerses are
you don't
just
know why.
that much more Cheersy.
Emphatic.
They start their own Vistaprint podcast.
To bleep that one out.
And you do. And you do.
Podcast.
No, why? Why? It doesn't matter.
Don't talk about the competition.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, competition.
Don't give them their name. They're
Hey,
not really competition.
Hey, are they going to do any client work? Do they do client work now?
He's like, wait a second.
They don't, right? So you're going to be doing internal
They
content.
don't, right?
I remember us talking. I just didn't know if it was also.
Do you guys want to do client work? And internal work?
Jono,
you gotta
day
put this in
one. Let me tell you some things I learned at my last job.
You should just hire them. Don't even listen to me.
Dude, for the first year, it's going to be a breeze because people aren't going to know whether you're kidding or not.
No, he's not going to do any of those jokes with them. He's going to be like, he's going to be a wet humor.
He's gonna be a wet humor guy.
No, it's not a wet humor.
He's going to be a wet humor.
That's impossible.
Man.
Are you gonna bring a dry humor to the new role,
It's
No.
who you are. You can't not do it.
or are you just gonna be
Thank you.
straight laced business boy?
What is that? Some type of drug?
Business boy or straight laced?
I don't know.
Or the whole thing?
The whole thing.
You got any extra business boys? Or,
Is this laced with that business boy wet humor?
Yo, you
what's that? I want one.
you carrying? Well, yeah. What do you want? You got any business boys? Straight lace? Yeah, they're straight lace.
Is it that Zoom Zoom? Oh,
Good times. Why don't you
really? It's all
Make
COVID.
like a tree.
COVID to blame.
don't let the door hit you on the way out? Why don't you tell us your favorite Votary
memory.
moments?
I knew this.
I said Votary moments.
Okay, favorite Votary moments.
Can we see that in montage? Would you mind editing this podcast for them to see it? in
What's a
montage?
story that you're going to tell people about your old job when you go to the new one?
I remember before I was officially hired, we had the tuna war shoot. So this is early memories coming into the company, and then Jed's like, so we have to shoot on a boat for a day, and then you were like, also we have room for other contestants on the show. Does your wife want to be on the show? I was like, I don't know. Does she want to be on the show? And then she was like, okay, and then we just showed up.
It
and was
couldn't help your chances.
And then it was an Airbnb with like 25 people, and we were just
Nice.
staying there. And then the next day we're on a boat catching tuna, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And then I was like, can you just hire me? And they was like, yeah, if we're going to do more tuna shows.
I didn't know that.
Down there.
He edited that.
Yeah, I know that. That's
You
good.
shot that, and you were one of the shooters, and then you edited.
Mhm.
I think you were a better editor back then.
Hopefully.
Like you've been regressing.
Oh, you think so?
all the way
I think
down
it's
to
'cause,
hireable by Vistaprint.
You were trying to impress, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then you started resting on your laurels.
Yeah, my laurels, they're pretty comfortable. One of my first directed jobs was the grinding wheel for Norton. That was a good memory.
Still a great piece in the portfolio.
I think Josh was still here for
Yes.
that. Me,
Yep.
you, and him scouted it out in the basement of the old Votary building, and then we shot it all in one night, and then we had at least one more subsequent shoot with them in that same basement, and then one at their facility. And yeah, from there it's been pretty good results on that client. What else?
Who was your favorite team member of all time?
Okay, let's see.
You're fired.
I'm thinking.
Took you too long.
Well, they're not with us, so
Oh.
They're no longer with
Because he's homesick?
yeah, because he's homesick.
That was predictable. You guys are mutton Jeff. I'm kind of mad that Jamin's not in this podcast. It would have been better.
Yeah.
We could have done a fifth, I mean.
Should we just cut?
Yeah.
Wait, how could you do a fifth?
The two of you, the pair of you, like,
Mm-hmm.
I've had the benefit of traveling quite a bit with you and Jamin.
Yeah.
And my view has been like, it's like Mutt and Jeff. You guys like similar humor, tons of laughs.
Are those two funny people?
Yeah, who are those people?
Oh, wow.
Those are Jed's cousins,
Yeah.
Those and Mutt and Jeff.
Mutt and Jeff Burdick.
It goes.
Calvin and Hobbes or something?
If you were a real film student, you would not. No one here knows.
No.
It's an old comedy duo, and one dude is really big, the other dude's really small, and they were really funny together. And yeah, it's they played off each other well. It's like you and Jamin. I've always thought that.
We're like Key and Peele.
Abbott and Costello.
Yep, Abbott and Costello, same time, or pretty much
yeah.
around the same time. Yeah, Laurel and Hardy, not as famous.
The Two Stooges.
The Two Musketeers. Stooges.
The Two Blind Mice.
Yeah, traveling with Jamin's been a trip.
Yeah, I would think so. Round trip.
Sometimes it's a one-way and then your car breaks down.
What was
Travel memories.
Yeah, what was your favorite Votary travel job?
Probably Costa Rica, only because I crashed a motorcycle in the middle of the road.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so let me tell this story.
Okay, go for it.
please.
Yeah, it's only Jono's.
It's very traumatic for me to say it. So
I want to tell the other perspective, and then I want to hear yours for a second,
okay,
real quick, fast story. So we're shooting multiple days, and then we have like some downtime. We're like, oh, this would be fun. Let's rent some scooters and like tool around, see some different spots. We had the option to get 4-wheelers, and really, in retrospect, that's what we should have gotten because we get on these scooters and we take off. And first, I'm like, oh, follow me, I know the way. And I take us onto this highway, and it's like wrapping around the coast, and oncoming traffic is like coming into our lane, and we barely have a shoulder to drive on these little things. And I pull around a bend, and Jamin and Jono are pulling out of a parking lot behind me. I pull off up ahead. I'm like looking back. No one's coming. No one's coming. No one's coming. And I remember how scary it was when I pulled out and this car's coming around and whatever. And I'm like, these guys will know what to do. I'm not going to panic. I pull off up ahead. It's like 15 minutes later. Jamin comes up, but not Jono. And I'm like, please God, don't tell me he got hit by a car.
you got taken.
Sure enough, we go back and pick up the story.
Well, okay, so there was a little orange stand. A guy is selling oranges on this side of the bend. So there's an overlook where you could see out, into the water or whatever, and it's just like mountainous like overlook, which is really beautiful. I think we had stopped to take some photos, and then across the street was the orange stand, and I think I went over there to look, and then Jed pulled up and went around the bend, and then I had to pull out into the road, but there was a car coming, so I was a little nervous, like, oh, I gotta go quick, right? And there was just some sand on the road, so when I went to hit the acceleration, I just slipped and skidded on the road, and the scooter went, and then I kind of just fell on the ground. I think I might have just skinned my knee. So then I just ran over and got back on it, and I was really embarrassed and a little bit hurt from my leg. But I didn't, I felt kind of embarrassed, and we were driving around going other places, and then Jamin, I think it was when we were on this dirt road.
Yeah.
There was the mountain. It looked like Jurassic Park. It was like you go off a dirt road, and all of a sudden there's this wide open field with mountains, and it was like incredible. Nobody else there. I think he was like filming on his
he was behind
phone.
me. He was behind me, and he pulled his phone out to snap some while driving on a dirt road with
like,
his scooter. Some videos, some stills, some selfies. Next thing you know, he doesn't notice that he's crept up on my back end.
Oh my God.
He's about to crash into me, and he hits the brakes so hard that the whole thing dumps.
His was like he was covered in blood.
He stands up covered in blood. He skidded like it was a fast fall.
That one Jed had to pay for the body work on the scooter.
Yeah, we paid for that one.
Wow.
So that was, and we were only in Costa Rica for 2 days, but that was a fun trip.
I was like, next time get 4-wheelers. These things go down.
Well, at least
Well, that was like off-roading with them.
Yes.
Yep.
It was foolish.
Are they meant to be?
No. No.
Yeah, it sounds more like user error.
I've used mopeds and like scooters before, and driving on like cobblestone streets and stuff was scary. So I can't imagine going off roading.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, look at a dirt road. Let's do it.
It's worth it.
We had a good story.
Well, I really hope that Jamin has those photos because I really want to see them.
I
want to
definitely
see
have a
like
few of them.
the motion
sequence.
blur of just like. Just,
While we talk,
all he did is say Jamin and you started laughing, and then Jamin, Cody's like,
Because I just imagine.
you just knew. I heard about the Jamin part, but I didn't know that you crashed too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I started it off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any good memories about me or not?
I remember going to New York with you, one of the only trips, or one of the first trips that it was just you and me. And I remember we were so tired and we stayed at that Airbnb.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
lady, like,
She was like screaming her social security number downstairs to like the Sears associate on the phone.
yeah,
She was like,
we could have
"Yeah,
stolen
my
this woman's
social."
identity. Here, my credit card numbers are 4498. It was like,
Yes.
like a lady, but she was like
That's a Visa
locked
card.
in a conversation. She was like locked in a conversation with us. We were both just like so tired. Oh wait, are these pictures?
That's Jamin.
Oh my god.
yeah, he
that was the
covered in blood.
overlook that we stopped at.
All right. Well, you're
And
gonna
then-
have to. You're gonna have to
Editor.
put these in the edit. Oh,
And
you
yeah,
guys are
swipe
just
right and you'll see his
adorable.
elbow.
Look at these
So
helmets.
cute.
Yeah.
Literally so cute. I don't know how your phone works.
That was from Mikasa?
That's swiping.
That's a good. That's a good little.
No,
shot.
that's just one dime.
Yeah, Mikasa was Puerto
Puerto
Rico,
Rico, yeah.
not Costa Rica. Wow.
nice. Anyway, you were talking to this lady with me. We were both just trying to get out of the conversation, and then we went into like the two separate rooms. We were gonna watch a movie or something.
I was just thinking about that
went,
yesterday.
And I went out to like get something out of like my bag or something, and you were in the bed, and I walked back, and in the time it took me to walk away and come back, you were just passed out.
We watched We Are Animals first, and when that was over,
We did?
Yeah.
I thought that was the second day. I thought the first day you
Oh,
were
the
just
first night.
The first night
I think you're right.
you, yeah, I
I
remember.
thought we only stayed one.
talking to you, and then walking to get something, and then you had just passed out with your clothes on and everything.
And then you're like, yeah, for me, when I go to bed, I usually get the hot tea, honey. I do CBD oil tabs. I take a hot bath. And then
That all sounds.
I meditate for 20 to 30 minutes.
I really do have I have to have like a wind down routine. I'm amazed. Like I'm blown away when people do that. Like when they just conk out. I'm like,
sorry.
What
Wow.
kind of superpower?
I'm like, how did you do? Did you inject yourself with something? You're like, yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
But no, it was just hard work. Good old fashioned labor.
Exactly.
What else? This is your time.
It's your time to
Dang.
shine.
What's the most most votary thing that's ever happened?
The votariest?
What does that mean?
That's up for interpretation.
Hmm.
It's probably not
Most
like,
votary thing that's happened. The most meaningful thing?
Oh, I thought you meant like
Depends
SD cards getting formatted or
Yeah.
like cases
That's how you define us?
overfilled and breaking stuff. That's
Yeah.
the old votary.
Well,
That's
I
not the-
remember like getting a job and being like, oh yeah, can you go to Florida like in 2 days? And then I had to pack like one bag, do a 2-camera shoot, rent a
by
minivan,
yourself.
take the client to dinner, do all of that
Cook.
like, one day. Then the hospital was like, yeah, you can't even shoot here. Just like stuff like that.
And you
Sorry.
did it anyway, right?
Well, yeah, we just waited for approval.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that's fun because you're like, I'm doing the work of a whole production team with
Pretty-
one.
Well, why are you leaving again?
Pretty sure you had to rush that edit too, wasn't it? Quick.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, can we get it by the end of the week? Like, I'll show you a draft. Like,
And then
it was
they
pretty quick. It
weren't
was
even
probably
able
2
to
weeks,
use it.
which wasn't too bad. What about you, Corey? Do you have any good memories of me, or is it all just kind of angry?
mostly angry. I think
That's fine.
We like to use humor to cover our anger.
Yeah.
That's why you guys are joking 24/7.
Yeah, we're actually just really
Coping.
angry. Yeah.
Coping.
I mean, I think I've just been in a constant state of laughter for 2 years now, which is good. I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I think our Tampa trip was really funny. And you didn't do anything. There was nothing particularly notable that happened. It's
I've
just
seen the video of me leaving like 10 times. I just like left to get in the Uber with like my suitcase.
and I filmed you walking away.
Yeah, I've seen that so many times.
Why?
You mean it just like pops up on your phone?
Like you
Or you
sent
watch
it
it
to
a lot.
me.
I don't-
Or, like,
As soon as we
showed
knew
it
you
to
were
me.
leaving, that started getting.
That's what
oh,
it
here's
was.
Jono leaving. Everyone.
It's a theme.
Yeah, it's just little things like your little mannerisms that I've never seen in other people that just kill me. Like I'm a pretty easy laugh, but
Right.
you,
Easy audience.
you get me good. You get me good.
So does Mike.
You gotta get them all good.
You gotta get them all good, and you do.
You've had us all laughing for years.
Rolling on the laughing floor.
One of my favorite memories, and I don't know if part of this is like made up, so you're gonna have to. Speaking going back to the Mandela effect.
Your mom told you the story at some point?
Yeah,
You thought
I just saw a
it
picture of
happened to
it
you?
when I was a kid.
You're like,
of
"That's-
Jono.
Yeah.
No,
When you were a kid, you knew Jono's photo.
we were in the other Votary office, and Alex Diaz came in to review the first draft of his Joseph short film, which meant the world to him. Like, this is a guy who had an out-of-body experience and experienced like a vision, which he wrote down into a script, and then we helped him produce it. And Jono did the edit on it.
Yeah, like not
Alex gets
stakes
through
aren't high or anything.
His stakes aren't high. Stakes aren't like, what? It's like, oh, if you like it, if you we can change some things. And no, but Alex is in the middle of watching Joseph, and I don't know, maybe it's like a minute in,
Oh yeah. The
And-
premiere.
and he like comes out
Yes.
the table and goes and starts to wail. He starts to cry,
He, like,
weep.
he's like, pause it.
Pause it.
And after we've been eating
Starts to
donuts.
weep.
Yeah.
And we're all standing around him. And I swear to you, I have this memory of Jono like taking a tissue and handing it to Alex. And I'm not sure if that really happened or not, but it's in my mind's eye.
Yeah, he was like, he was so touched because what he was seeing was what he remembered in his dream. And it was like so closely aligned that he was overcome with emotion. And he was like, this is amazing, JoJo. It's incredible.
He called you JoJo. Yeah.
And then my email, I don't know why. My email started auto-correcting my name when I would sign it to JoJo. I was like, forever stuck with it.
That's funny.
I wouldn't know what that's like.
Yeah, Corey.
You're the one that changed my name.
You were confused. You're like, wait, is my name
It got
Corey?
Whistler was the first one, but then you latched onto that.
Oh,
and
he just messed up.
the second you sunk your teeth into that, it was forget about it.
Well, the first time you came in, you were like, okay, I work here and I'll be here forever. You're just like, yeah, give me a water and a beer and let's do this.
I'll take
It was a slow burn.
2 meaningful stories and a latte.
He was like, yeah, I just saw the sign on the highway. Here's my gear organization plan. What do you think? What do you think about a 6-month implementation plan where it starts with something simple, like cleaning up the extension cords, and from there we move on to categorizing our gear into a check-in, check-out system. What do you think?
Truthfully, this office just won't do.
Also, we should move.
Also, there's poison leaking slowly in the office, and I don't know why you guys are immune to it. I'm like, oh, that's why I have a headache all the time.
You were never there at the old office because you were
Couldn't.
so sick.
There's a little lead paint in your water. You might want to take that out before you take another sip from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Yeah,
really?
there's lead chips falling off the ceiling of the old one.
Oh, I thought you were saying just
No,
now.
not now. No.
And then there was methane pouring out of the heaters.
Yeah, we had heaters that weren't meant for people to be in those environments.
But you were warm.
Not really, 'cause it was like no insulation.
It was pretty funny because Cody was getting those terrible headaches, and then we were like, well, we can't not have Cody come in. We turned them off and bought how many space heaters?
Space heaters.
Like 8 space heaters to heat the space.
But
Like,
then we tested it and
$2,000.
realized that we were literally breathing in poison for like
yes,
years.
it was
in
bad.
winter.
It was
like, oh.
Well,
straight carbon monoxide.
part of my memories of Votary.
This is why all your memories are blurry in the early years.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I'm thankful that it was actually not insulated, because that we were probably getting
True.
like a tiny bit of fresh air and not dying.
It's weird how part of my early memories of Votary was a lot of smells. It was the musk of the entryway when you walked in those stairs, like that mold, clearly mold of some sort.
Yeah. Oh,
There's that. There was
Mixed with men's soap.
from downstairs.
Yeah, from the
Oh, yeah.
basement.
Yeah, and
Yeah, there
then
was
there
Fight
was-
Club downstairs.
And then there was just like the tobacco. You and Mike used to go out on the balcony,
Puff our pipes.
puff the pipes, and that tobacco smelled amazing. Just remember that and going out in that little opening there.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. I mean, now we have a beautiful office or whatever.
Yeah, but there's no open windows. We're
crazy.
trapped in here.
I'm really happy that
No pipe
I got to know the old office,
Yeah. It was legendary.
because I don't think
Well, you didn't see it before it was opened up to.
right. I never saw it as a Rev 1
That was toy.
literally
Yeah.
confined.
Yep.
Yeah, and then by the time I got there, Harvey had been there long enough to where there was just accumulated like 3 inches of fur on every step of the dark. of the
Yeah,
dark
there was
stairway.
also 3 inches of fur on top of just like the multiple extension cords plugged into each other that had all of our
Hey, that's
computers
daisy
and-
chains.
yeah. It was
Those are
literally just
daisy
like,
chained. Okay.
and then it's just like fur and the dog walking on it. And Cody's like, this probably is not the greatest way to have
His
editing
water bowl
system.
was right like next to our media server. He's just like just splashing water like on it.
And he's, you got a backup for that? You got backing it up? Or,
Oh, I got this drawer.
Yeah, there's some cards.
How are you guys?
How are you guys a company?
All right, I'll join.
All right. I must join to fix this.
Twist my arm.
I am needed.
Oh man, that's good.
But in all seriousness, Alex reacted that way because of how good the edit was. And that's truthfully all my memories of you delivering edits to clients when they're there, or through the internet, or the feedback they've gotten, or internal work, the stuff we've had here.
They all burst into tears.
It's been your artistry and attention to detail and just pushing the craft that we present has always been really impressive to everyone, and an inspiration to everyone on the team and to me. And I know we're not signing off, but I just want to say, you've added a lot to Votary, and I'm super grateful. Always will be. And I hope that we can work together again in some way. We're certainly going to miss you, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the level of craft and quality and professionalism that you've brought to the art that we produce and present
Yeah.
to our clients.
Thank you, man.
I'm just very thankful.
I feel like a lot of that was definitely nurtured at Votary, because when I did stuff, especially you at the very start, were like, "Oh, this is good, let's send it." And I feel like I came from a lot of not always feeling appreciated for maybe that level of whether it's making something artistic or making something a little out of the box. I feel like a lot of prior client work had not been, that was not encouraged in a way. And so for you and for everyone in the team to be so encouraging over everything, it was definitely a nurturing of that and wanting me to press in closer to do that, and to even the stuff Jamin had already done and that you guys had already produced in the past was like, clearly there's a desire here for quality work, and also something that's not, it's got meaning behind it. It's a little bit deeper. And so I was like, well, I always wanted to do that anyway. So it was just a real opportunity for me to kind of pour that into every project, as simple or as complicated as that project was. Just like, hey, I'll make this, as creative and as, meaningful as I can figure it out to be. And then there's always a good feedback loop here, everyone, even to a fault, being very supportive. And it's like, well, no, just give it to me straight. Like, tell me why it's bad. Like, even that, just
Probably because it was never bad.
well, sometimes.
There was a 2-year straight run where every project every edit that you delivered had some new element that you experimented with, but then arrived at something that was really great from experimenting that way. And it was just, the only word is just fresh. Like, you kept bringing a freshness. And truthfully, you still do. It's just that
It can't go on forever. I plateaued at some point.
No, definitely not. It's just that we've had so many deliverables that at some point you do say, okay, it's in the nuance. It's in the little things. We have to take longer or have a bigger budget or do more pre-production or whatever it is that would allow that, diminishing returns, the law of diminishing returns, which is awesome, right? To keep pushing it and sharpening it. And I do hope and pray that you continue to have that opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah, when I came on, I remember Mike being like, "Yeah, if we didn't have Jono, we'd be screwed." And we would be dead without Jono. We would be dead. And you would say
at the time it was
real. Yeah, it was like
100% true.
Yeah,
Like we'll still be screwed, but not go out of business.
And I think the first project that I really worked on with you was MPC 1.
Oh yeah.
And
And a Kai commercial.
yeah, and Mike was like, "Just watch, Jono's gonna give us something like tomorrow that's gonna like blow our minds. Just watch."
Well, I had fun.
I'm
with
just like talking Jono up so much.
You were.
just wait till you
I
see
had
this
fun
guy
with the
work.
pre-edit. We did like an edit
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
before.
To show the client to see if that was the right direction to go.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, you were in high demand. Every project was just like, well, I have a project. Well, I have I have a project that Jono could do. My project though has like stuff that needs to be good. Well, mine has stuff that needs to be like really good. So
It's got to be really. This could open doors. This one.
no, but this
I'm
one
telling you.
has like snappy editing, so it needs to be like
Oh,
the
yeah.
snappiness like the Jono does. Well, mine has like it needs to be like better.
And meaningful.
Mine's like super meaningful though.
I was thinking Jono for this one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think.
Then we went to Tampa and did that one, and you were like, "How's the edit going?" Because it was right when COVID hit, and I was like at home editing, and I remember feeling like you were worried. You're like, "How's that edit?"
Well, like that you weren't doing it.
I don't know. Yeah. No, not that I wasn't doing it, but just like you were.
I don't
here.
know. Yeah.
I was like silent on like
Well,
giving you any information. And still like,
I had never seen your
Well,
laurels so
you
rested.
hadn't experienced like the way that we do edits here, which is like basically giving the editor
Complete
now that we've directed, produced this thing, like you kind of can just, if you just decide to make it completely different, well, if it's awesome, we'll just be like, all right, that's the project. That's better. That's better than what we were planning. It's like a lot of creative freedom.
Votary Films. It's in the edit.
Yeah.
Fix it in post.
Yeah, fix it in post.
No, but I think that's true. Like, I think Jono for sure, and Jamin as well. Like, they've set a precedent to where you want to put it in the hands of someone who is really, really talented and really creative, and trust that more than you're going to trust what you maybe planned on. Trust that they can actually make it better than you even planned. And I think that's not a very scalable model, because it's really hard to find people who can really do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it does leave room for some really like magical things to happen.
Right.
Just plan on there's going to be a little bit of unknown in how it's going to end up. Like, hey, let's just be creative in some random way, or, use some new idea or technique and get it.
And I think that speaks to our model, business model, in that, it's pretty common to just try to scale up on any business, and you inevitably try to systematize everything in order to scale. But that really doesn't work. And many video companies have tried it, and they'll try to carve out a niche, like, oh, we do hospital videos, we do customer testimonial, and that's their thing. And they do systematize it, and they scale it up. But leaving that creative freedom and that openness has allowed us to explore and really treat every single project like it was its own work of art, because it is. Because we're adding to it as an artist, as a storyteller, and making it something that we're proud of. And it's actually kind of a spiritual thing, because people end up watching it and feeling something that they're like, it's like, I don't know how you did that. You just really nailed who we are as a company, or something like that. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud that's kind of our spot. I think there's other areas that could scale, other business models. I'm not against scaling, right? I think distribution could be really, really cool business model to scale. But when it comes to making the actual individual pieces, your contribution has worked really well with our model of just really taking time and giving attention to every customer and every job.
And I think that attracts people who want to do that, or who can do that. People who come in who say, I want to learn how to do that, and I enjoy that style. Or you have people who are already there in their personal careers that are like, let's partner. It's a growing team and growing collective, and it definitely attracts more of that type of talent. And I think the culture of Votary is really special, because it's not squeezing the life out of an editor or anyone else. It's respecting the talent and giving them room, but also being supportive and always supporting them and saying, how can I help? But also, we trust you, trust you to get the job done, and trust you to edit it well. And, when you respect an artist like that, they feel that and reciprocate it with giving you the best thing that they can give you.
So our listeners, viewers, are asking themselves right now, or asking the question, so why are you leaving if it's so good?
Yeah.
If what's so good?
Yeah, Jono.
Votary. If the culture's so good at Votary, why are you leaving?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be working remote, so I can just come up here whenever I want, hang out and be on the podcast. But the real reason is, I think, just where I am in my personal life. I have a daughter who's 1 year old, and there's a lot of priority now on time, and being someone who commutes just under an hour. I feel like being in a position where I can be remote first is important, but also being a part of a company that has a maturity in the benefits, which Votary will eventually have, but just to have the flexibility there for some of, potentially with more kids on the way, the ability for me to assume some of those, health related benefits and other things, so that my wife isn't the one who has to feel tied to her job. I feel like the season I'm entering into is going to be helpful to be in this new role, and it was not without a lot of kind of anguish that I made the decision, because it doesn't feel like there's any obviously no bad feelings, but there's no big negative thing that's causing it. It really is just me as someone in this season of my life maturing into this next step. So I guess that's
the growing needs of a family, which I remember very, very well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same reason that I didn't continue to pursue feature films, one feature film to the next, because it was just too uncertain.
Which doesn't say that you'll never, head back to that dream, that goal. So
Right.
I definitely don't feel like anything is, absolute. Like, oh, okay, now I'll never be back here. Like, this is just something where, for this, opportunity that I wasn't even looking for came my way. I said, well, I need to explore it.
Yeah, and I think exploring is a huge part of life,
Yeah.
if for no other reason to satisfy and to know what our guardrails are and boundaries and what opportunities are. And sometimes it turns out to be like the most amazing thing, and other times it's just like, I was learning, and it shows me where how to carve the path.
Yeah.
And I'm as a believer in free minds and free markets, I'm like all about that.
Yeah,
So,
and again, I keep talking about Votary's culture, but it's true. Like the family that we have here, I remember when Jamin, was one of the first people that really invited me in, asked me questions about my life, like welcomed me into the Votary family, and then he went and lived in Boston and freelanced for over a year, and it was like there was no hard feelings. It was just that's what he's doing for this time in his life, and he learned a lot and he grew, and and even to this day I see ways that he grew a lot that he probably wouldn't have if he had stayed.
I totally agree.
And I think part of me knows.
And he came back, just so people know. He works here, obviously, now.
So not to make it sound like he doesn't. But yeah, just part of growth, and hopefully that I'm going to be growing in this next area, and who knows how that can add to what I'll be able to offer down the road.
I mean, how tall are you currently?
6'4".
How much more can you really grow,
that.
bro?
What's the goal?
I can grow horizontally. So.
do you feel like there's been any, speaking of growth, like any major growth? I mean, I feel like maybe we've already covered it, but like growth that's happened for you since you've been here, or if you've stayed the exact same?
I feel like I view myself as an editor, and I view myself as a shooter, primarily when I arrived at Votary.
Viewed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
When I arrived, and I feel like I was able to test out directing as well as producing some projects, and also having a role in leadership and learning how to manage people and be accountable to those that manage me, and then how can I do the same to them, and just knowing leadership. I feel like I was raised to think of it as something like harsh. Like, to lead someone is got to be like, you have to be strong, Yeah. But if that's not my personality, does that mean I can't be a leader? So I feel like I've learned to grow in what it means to lead, and, be authentic in my example, and also, talent wise, like obviously working on new jobs, more interfacing with the client, directing, producing some works. I think of Tech Bond, I was able to write it with the client, direct, DP it, edit it, help produce, not fully produce. Cody helped a lot. Jed sold it. So it was a team effort, but like to see, wow, could I have done that 3 years ago? Could I have done all those things? Like I don't often stop and take stock of how far I've come, but that was a moment where I was like, wow, it's definitely something Votary helped me grow into.
You don't know if you could have done it like physically, or
I'm
just
sure
like you didn't have the confidence.
I'm sure I could. I know my skills have been honed.
Yeah.
Like shooting wise, just from sheer practice. But yeah, just like having the confidence.
Yeah.
Having the confidence to do those things and feel like I can see the vision for something, and then backtracking on how do we make that happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I've definitely noticed that. Yeah, like you've been way more comfortable just like speaking out and directing. Like things that I've directed with you, like I really feel like we were co-directing, because you would have all these ideas for shots that required you to direct, and you just jump in.
I feel like I used to be way more just overwhelmed. Like, oh, how could I do that without knowing how it's done? And so that would it's almost like if you're trying to make something perfect, you don't do it at all.
Right.
Same thing. Like, oh, if I don't know how to do that and I've never done it before, then I just can't. So I think I've grown in that, to know that like I can put my efforts into something, and I don't need to know everything about it, but I can learn and grow, and just that experience has grown me for 100%.
It's pretty cool when people can go from like a debilitating thing, like the fear of that, to it's actually what you like about the job. It's exciting. You know, you look forward to that in a job. That's a big shift. And, you know, you've never really been very visible about any of the things that overwhelmed you or fears you might have had. Like it's hard to see them.
I can tell.
Maybe little mumbles here and there.
Just goes a little quiet.
If we had a little more time. I mean, if we had a little more time, maybe that we could.
If only there's more time.
I mean, I think it went pretty good, but I feel like maybe a little more forethought, a little more planning.
Just a little more writing, a little more planning.
Bigger budget would have been better. Just any amount of help would have been really helpful.
Anybody else did
Please help me. Help.
Jono, Jono,
help.
the OG in Mumblecore.
I haven't really slept in like 4 days, but it's going fine.
It's going fine.
It's great. No, but
feel like
you haven't. I mean, we're joking about that, but really, most of your fears weren't verbalized. But I in terms of the work and seeing it play out, certainly I've seen 3 years of just straight growth. What have you seen change in Votary? Flip the tables a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like we had a lot of. It's like when I know you mentioned this, maybe not on the podcast, but about the idea of a startup, that Votary is established in 2007, but yet we're still like a startup. And I feel like that is kind of inherent with such a small team. But I feel like the growth has been a lot in the mentality. Like we're taking things more seriously and definitely process, like thinking how does, doesn't mean we want to scale up to be a, 50 or 100 or 200 member team. Like we could still stay small, but like we've constantly been gleaning things from different conferences, from different books, and all these things we've been implementing, like how to systemize our gear and how to put the process in. And, we rebranded our logo and we came up with core values and we said, let's be intentional about what types of films we make and let's define our target market. And, these are things that maybe someone who has a very service type business would just know right off the bat. But I feel like we were so focused on making the art that those things lagged behind.
Well, and it's also partly because, unlike a super niche business, we were able to make stories and videos for everyone, for anyone. For so long, we were just like, yeah, we're right for everyone. Anything you need, which wasn't fully true. It was like the best stuff we could do really did have a pared down sort of market size.
For sure.
Not to get all into that right now, but it's like until you realize that and you just think, because it's a little different if you're like making like a tool for a plumber, you're selling to plumbers. That's it, right? Just focus in on that, whatever. But we didn't have that focus for so long.
I remember working at Isidore's Organics in Oxford. Just a little plug for them. But I remember
Is that the same
boss
shop?
there. Yeah, I remember the boss there was like, I used to think that if I just made the sandwiches really good, everything else would like fall into place. Like if the food was good, then that's it. Like you everything else will kind of work out from there. And then you realize like that's not necessarily true. You can have amazing food, but everything else is falling apart. And I remember sort of like helping him try to organize things or being in the process of that. And he's like doing great. And I felt like that was us. We were just like, if we just make great stuff, the rest is just going to fall. And it's just like, that's not true. You can make really awesome stuff, but if you don't like get organized.
Yeah. I feel like it's slow and steady.
I think the commitment to continual improvement is the most important thing.
Yeah, because then you never just flatline.
Right.
I mean, when you look back, you see the moments that contributed to a slow and steady growth.
Right.
You could say we're on a, 5,000 square foot office with amazing employees and interns, and I have a beautiful kitchen and a ping pong table, like all these things, right? But it was a slow and steady growth. We honed in our branding. We learned about different process. We solidified our culture of continual improvement. You wrote a book. All the things. So apart from our work, like Mike was saying, apart from us improving our craft and being good at our work, we also had so many, even just us getting on the same page with finances and meetings and how do we run the company? What's our operating system? All these things, as they fell into place, the spirit of getting better as a company never went away. So it just made things easier. And so
Right.
it's slow and steady, but it's uptrend. So like now all this stuff is, it makes sense because it's what we have been working towards. And obviously there's a lot of vision planned out for 3, 5, 10 more years. But that's the growth I've seen is steady, incremental, couple down, not many, a couple down moments of like, things are slow, but really not many down moments, always even and then up and then even, then up and just trend. And so, I could call out probably more moments if I thought about it, but they all just accumulate to where we are now.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm gonna in the danger of quoting Jed, but
Don't
Nothing
do that.
dangerous about it.
That's copyright.
but
My
fair
lawyers will
use.
be in touch.
Yeah,
it's cyclical. It's a wave. It
is.
however you want to say
that's
it.
so true.
But like you can't grow without preparing for the growth. So there's always going to be seasons of preparation and refining, and then you can that's what allows you when the time is right to take a big step of growth.
Story acceleration workshop. I'm just going to call out the growth moments as I think of them. Go ahead.
And then you do it again, and then so you never
Having a podcast.
during which we can speak about
Keep going.
how we've grown.
Yeah.
The irony.
So that's I guess just putting different words to exactly what you just said is just this cycle of preparing, getting better, refining who we are and what we're doing, so that when the time is right, we take a big step of growth to do something that we couldn't have done before.
Yeah. Another one is our business model. Just using, it seems simple to us now to tap into our amazingly talented community of filmmakers, right? And we're going to even grow that more. We talked about bringing them into a Slack channel and having more community building. We've had events for them, but I remember sitting at the table in the
Wegmans
cafeteria,
or
actually.
Whole Foods or something.
I remember, it was a hotel restaurant in China.
Oh yeah.
Sitting there with you and being like, how do we make this work in a way that isn't,
That's
hiring a million people into our team? And we said, we love the name Votary Collective. Yeah. And one of our clients came over to talk to us about potentially doing more work. And we were like, how do we do that? And that's when we said, let's just make the Votary Collective. And, a few months later, actually a little bit later, we ended up doing a Facebook group. But I remember the birth of that was like a revolution.
Yeah, it was.
Or a revelation. Revolution. It was a revolution.
They revolted.
Oh, man. Grammar. But yeah, that was one moment that I recall as well, is just our business model. Not just, having a ton of small jobs and hiring a bunch of people, but let's go after more meaningful work, bigger budgets, and then hire out, people that we trust and that we know that we vet.
Part of that, I don't know where it landed in the timeline, but right in that same time is when we were all kind of reflecting and comparing notes and saying, we see growth in sales, but it does feel like we're turning more into a job shop.
Yeah, it was like fall 2018.
And people were coming to us and we had more cash and more sales on the books than I'd ever had before, which was just like, I was like, we're not starving, we're not dying, we're not, there was a lot of weird thoughts I had to process.
We came back to the sales team. We were like, guys, what do you think about saying no to clients?
It's crazy, right? Because if you go from this place, this mindset of want for so long, and then all of a sudden there is cash in the bank, it's very difficult to turn it off and say, yeah, but what are the unintended consequences? Like, what are we building here with this? That could be a problem. And when the team reflected and just said, yeah, but we're not loving what we're doing, and it's just turning into like, get more out the door. I remember us having those conversations, and we said, well, we need to reinvent the process where when someone comes to us, they're coming to us to get involved in the development. Before that, we were saying to them, okay, what do you want us to make?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
we got to remember that,
for sure.
because like it's already shifted so much to where we're deciding, like now we decide with them.
We're guiding them.
We're working.
Drawing it out.
We're influencing. Yes, exactly. We're influencing through a process. We're aligning is really the right words, but we're influencing the process of what would be effective and helpful to them, and stuff that we can get behind with wholeheartedly. Because ultimately we saw that the stuff that we would make where we were really pouring our heart into it, artistry, is the times when the clients were like, you nailed it. It's amazing. It's doing exactly what it was supposed to do. And the times where we were like just getting a paycheck is when it was started, and that's just a vulnerable reality. Like companies go through this. You have moments where you're like, not our best work.
I remember having that conversation with Jamin. I think we were just saying, what if we made whatever we wanted to make for the client, but it hit their goal? And he was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. I'm like, yeah, we could probably do that. We're like, we can make whatever we want and pitch it to them if it's achieving their goal. So take what they need to happen and say, okay, what do we want to do to make to bridge it? And then I'm sure they would love that if it's well done.
Right.
If it's something bizarre and abstract, maybe not, but if it's achieving the goal, then
sometimes if they want bizarre and abstract.
Yeah, if they're on that wavelength,
that's when they hire Mike.
Yeah.
Well, now that I know the reason for you leaving is your child,
okay, don't put it all on her shoulders, her tiny little shoulders.
Since being a dad, what are the major things? I feel like maybe I've talked to you offline about this a little bit, but not enough. What are like the major things that are like have changed or grown, or have you noticed since having a kid?
I only have one kid. Jed is 6. So.
Yeah, but I've talked to Jed about this like 100 times. What about you, though?
I'll answer for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
I know
saying.
exactly 6 times, actually.
All right, is this right? You love them more? Well, I feel like having her and seeing how I feel towards her in a weird way has reflected on a lot of my, this might, I don't know how this sounds, but basically my relationship with God, seeing how he views me is how I view her in a lot of ways. The things she does, the things I wish she would do, or like all these things where puts into perspective me as a human, how I am viewed and loved. And I guess that part of my brain or that part of my heart wasn't, it's like when you don't know something until you experience it.
Right.
And so having her, seeing how much I love her and just the feelings that are unlocked just through fatherhood gave me deeper perspective on the things that I've always known or been taught growing up, but really kind of internalizing it and being like, oh, okay, I really get why, why someone could love me unconditionally, these things that are hard to grasp until you experience it towards someone else. And I think a lot of times we receive from people, but when we're giving, like towards a family and, giving towards her, like I was telling Linnell, if I did nothing else in my life but just raise her, like that would be enough.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of, as long as I'm just giving towards her and towards my family, and if we have more kids or whatever, like if nothing else, if I just did right by that, then I would feel satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a nice feeling, because I feel like a lot of times you need to be validated by, like, even as someone who's a filmmaker, I got to make like a film. I got to be seen. I got to be heard. I need my voice to be out there. And that's all great. I actually want to say things that matter, and I want to say things that are meaningful, but maybe it's just for right now. I'm not quite sure, but it just feels like that's not as high priority as just creating a good family unit where we are feeding into her what she needs to be an amazing human being. And I feel like we are now aligned as parents on them. We want her to be someone who is able to thrive. And I think we are taking what we wish we had learned from our parents and what, unlearning certain things, learning certain things, and applying that.
And there will still be gaps you'll see later, and it's just part of life.
For sure. And the funny thing is, I'm sure she'll be the one to tell us.
Absolutely.
Like, you guys
She's going to be like, I wish they taught me this.
Exactly.
For my kids, I'm going to... And it goes on.
But it's funny because so much cycle had happened within a short amount of time with giving birth to her, and then, becoming a father, and then shortly after losing my father. And it's like just like being present for those emotions, like processing them all.
Yeah.
It was like a lot within a year, to really feel what it was like to be one, and then to lose one, and then know that, he wouldn't be there for her, which was probably the hardest part.
Same for me. I don't know if it was this way for you, but when I lost my dad, and I had really young, some of them were really young still at the time. There was a transference of energy from what I got from my dad, got from the relationship that I had with my dad, to it kind of like fell on me like, no, now I am 100% that for them.
Yeah.
And it's like the relationship that I did have with him was suddenly like, oh, I'm even more just, I have that with you now. And it wasn't two sides. It was one side, and it was more concentrated for me anyways. I don't know if you've started to feel that or not, or if that's something you'll feel more as she gets older or something. But there's so many things, like it would come up like, I wish I could talk to my dad about that. Well, I can talk to my kids about that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's part of maturing. Yeah. Just having a better, you don't always have to be understood. You don't always have to be the one who's right. You can just be okay with not knowing or not understanding, and just, doing your best.
Yeah.
And just, giving them your all, and being what I can be, and, just totally being open to learning and being corrected. But I feel like there is definitely some maturing that came with that. It was like the same thing when I got married. I'm like, okay, now I'm married. Now I'm responsible for both of us. And all of a sudden I had a little bit more maturity.
Yep.
Every step that I take that's a life step definitely comes with a little more responsibility, a little more ownership, and definitely more maturity. But, I feel like I'll always be a little immature at heart. Got to keep that there.
No doubt. Yeah.
No, that's the best thing you've said all
That your guess? Wasn't really listening to what you were saying, but I heard that last bit.
Oh, that last bit really
resonated
with me.
Isn't it insane that Violet is going to be an old woman
Yeah.
someday?
I know.
Wow.
That's crazy. Like
I got to think that far ahead. Like,
she's going to be doing a podcast on Mars.
no, it's just insane when I see like it's like old people and babies are like two different species sometimes in your mind. Like they're so separate, but it's like that's the same thing.
They're like the closest
It's
correlated
just insane.
demographics is a baby and an elderly person.
Yeah.
So closely correlated.
My mom has
It's just weird.
dementia, and it's getting more pronounced. And it's amazing how much like a little kid she seems like.
The past comes up with dementia. For some
She
reason,
wants to talk about little puppies. You can't talk about anything deep. She seems like she's 4. She seems like she's 4. She seems like and thankfully, so there's a big difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. Can't speak to the science of it, but what it's been described to me is Alzheimer's is like personality changing, and dementia you usually get a little more childlike. both you lose memories and lose comprehension and whatever.
I think my grandma, when she had Alzheimer's, was maybe it was the personality part of it, but it might have been a combination because some stuff was gibberish, and then other times she'd be kind of like mean.
They say most
stuff.
Yes, most they get violent.
You're like
They
the
get violent.
sweetest lady anyone's ever known. And you're just
My grandmother smacked my sister across the face. She had Alzheimer's. She was never like
and they
that.
say rude stuff about like my sister or other people and be like, "You're fat now," or like stuff like that. Like,
No
what
filter.
Are you talking about? Yeah, it's like no filter, but then a little bit extra on top of that.
Yeah, I knew a guy who in his 90s knocked his wife's teeth out. They were married for like 70 years.
He didn't
Yeah.
have Alzheimer's.
Well,
Yeah,
That's just a side
no,
story.
it's just because they were married
No,
for
he
70
did.
years.
Yeah.
he was just sick of it.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
So
he was
I am
she
very
had
happy.
Alzheimer's.
I am very happy that she doesn't have Alzheimer's. That she has, something that makes her so sweet. But it is pretty crazy to see the childlike
Yeah.
thing. It's wild.
How did we get here?
Well, because
Maybe it's
I don't know.
normal people.
I think about this stuff when I look at my niece and nephew. To me, that's like, I mean, they're not my kids, but that's the first
Closest
time.
thing to
That's
it,
the first
yeah.
time I felt like that immense,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I would jump in front of a train or whatever, like those kind of weird scenarios you have where you're just like, I would give up everything for these kids. And I just think about how they're going to be like old and wrinkly and they're going to learn all this stuff and like how their personalities are forming right in front of you and how by the time they're 7, supposedly psychologically, they're never going to change. Like it's built. That's the person is there. And so that's freaky. Like they're like my niece is approaching that age and it's like, wow, you are going to be such a handful, like just in life. But
Yeah.
you know what? Like
We got to do some rearranging before your 7th birthday.
quick.
Going back to your question about what I feel and what I've learned. So like, again, like feeling like knowing how my creator created me is very interesting to feel how it feels to be a parent because you've created something that has free will and this thing will do whatever they want in their life. You can influence them, but they have this free will. And when she chooses to love us, it's just so beautiful because it's out of that free will. So, when she chooses me, when I say like, come here, and she doesn't want to, and she's crying and all this stuff, but then she does, like, just like start tearing up because it's like, wow, she just chose me out of free will because I created her. And I think we all have that bit of, the inherent need to have created something and to steward something. And as a parent, that's like fully on display and it's fully there. And
See this?
yeah, created it.
I made this.
Yeah. It's Lynelle says all the time, like, I carried her in my body for 9 months. Like she's
It
like,
is a trip.
like her mind's blown by it. And I'm like, yeah, just that feeling of knowing like that is like the creation of life. And that is like a reflection of how I was created. And yeah, I guess makes me reflect a little bit higher.
You do hear that a lot. Like my mom has been a maternity nurse, and she's like, so many people would be like, the miracle of childbirth, but it's like, how can it be a miracle? It happens all the time. But like people, they do have that reaction, and it's like, well, yeah, when you really break it down, it's like it's insane.
Yeah,
like,
it really
like what? Like, yeah, you start out as a little thing, and then just this other little thing, and then just it's like it's insane.
It is.
It is kind of miraculous, but it is also like paradoxical because how can something be miraculous if it's happening constantly?
Yeah, if the very existence of the species relies on it to happen.
It's just sort of like, oh yeah, whatever. It's like equal parts, yeah, whatever, and also like the most mind blowing thing imaginable.
There's this comedian that talked about how he's like, if it's a miracle of life, like you can just accidentally create a human being. Like I would just accidentally, you can't even accidentally make a shed. Oh, whoops! I just made a shed in my backyard. It's like, no, that never happens. But yet you can accidentally create an entire human being who will have a life, who will carry on the human race. Like, whoops, didn't mean to. Like, it's insane how that happens.
Yeah, It is.
We don't need to get into how that happens.
I guess that's what I was gonna say.
I think we all know
where the metaphor breaks down is for you to have accidentally made a shed in the same way you accidentally make a baby. You'd have to go to the lumberyard, buy a bunch of wood, get nails, get hammers, bring it into your yard, and start whipping the hammer around and being like, "Oh shit, I made a shed! Oh, what an accident!" Like
That was fun.
I hope we didn't just make a shed.
I need a cigarette.
Got some gasoline right here. Burn it down.
Oh man. And that was the Goodbye Jono podcast.
It tickled me.
Well,
Intermission, laughter intermission.
we, as our best podcasts do, we go where the wind takes us. But
Of those nails were pretty dull.
I would just say it's hard not to feel mostly sadness right now. I think
Yeah, this has been the
for us.
saddest podcast.
You're welcome.
It is a loss. It's a loss for us as a team, and it's going to require a period of mourning, honestly, like just like getting used to it and accepting that Jono's not going to be in the position and role in our lives that he has been.
Right.
And we know that you're still going to be around here and there, and you'll come visit and bring Harvey and all that. But I'm going to call my shot right now, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a season, and I don't know how long it's going to be, but that we will work with you again.
I agree.
I'm calling that shot now.
It's
Here,
documented.
Denial.